Hello guys, it's Shara Creations here, and today we're still talking about the exposure triangle, and specifically we're going to talk about the aperture. So what is an aperture? Aperture is actually how wide or narrow your lens opens. So how does aperture affect lighting? As I've said, aperture is how wide or narrow your lens opens. So it means if your lens has a wider aperture, for example 1.4, 1.8, 1.2, it tends to allow more light into the camera, right, through the lens. If the aperture is narrow, let's say aperture of maybe 7, 8, 9, or you can open it, you can narrow it to even 22, you'll tend to get darker images. So how does aperture affect light? When you're using when you're doing flash photography, the aperture that you set will affect your general image in many ways. For instance, if you're using flash photography, if you're doing flash photography rather, the aperture that you set will determine how your subject will be lit. For instance, if your aperture is 7.1, it will determine how the subject will be lit. Also, it will determine how sharp the image will be. So aperture doesn't affect the background of the image when you're shooting using flash. So be careful. If you're using flash, the aperture doesn't affect lighting of the background. Okay, the shutter speed is the one that takes control of the light, the ambient lighting. So aperture will affect how your subject will be lit, right? Also, lenses with wider apertures, from like these are 40 mm, these are 40 mm, it's wide. It has an aperture that opens to up to f2.8. So lenses like this are best in low light. They can give you good results in low light. They can give you amazing bokeh. If you want bokeh, as a beginner photographer, you always want bokeh. If you want bokeh, you better get that lens that has, that captures, that opens wide. I know you get me. With me also, I have the 18 to 55 mm. These are kit lens, has an aperture opening to up to 4. When you compare these two lenses, this one that has an aperture of 2.8 and the one that has an aperture of 4, the 2.8 aperture tends to give you better results in dark situations compared to the aperture that is 4. Yeah, until next time, so see you guys, and you can tell me in the comment section what I forgot to mention, and that's all about aperture. See you next.